Alright, this seems to be working this time. So I'm going to try to do a few simple, quick practice kind of things to get people just doing stuff with clay, and also to get some shorter streams up. So quick and easy, I'm just going to jump in. This is going to be just a little exercise to do with a ball of clay in your hand. So assuming you have a somewhat medium firmness clay and it is warmed up in your hands. A couple different little fun exercises to do. So first one is, of course, rolling that tube and making it as non-bumpy as possible. So just going over and over it again until you get that as perfectly round as possible all the way down. And if it starts to get too long, another little quick and fun thing is to try to smush it so that it gets thicker without, moving it all over the place. Another thing you can do is doing this in your hands like this is another good exercise. So making different shapes like I'm going to do right now. So I've got a rough cylinder. You can see your fingers want to make it sort of an hourglass shape. And anytime you're doing something like that, you can sort of lean into it and try to make it as perfect as possible going around. So now you get like a bone shape almost. Turn it into a bone just by doing a little of that. But no. So another fun one is to do as a cube, and you can use a combination of a table or your fingers with this. And this is the one I was telling about in other videos, where I usually convert this into some sort of multi-sided object. And you can look those up. There's lots of different ones to make different dice or die. And if you've ever done this with clay in your hands and it's really soft, warm clay, it's nearly impossible. But if it's got enough firmness, and if it's this right kind of clay where it doesn't completely melt and stick to your fingers, you can do quite a bit with just pressing like this. And a really, really good spatial awareness, tactile exercise, training your sense of touch and also your eye, is just to try to make as perfect a cube as possible. And the more you tumble it, and the more you can see it starts to go off. But even just doing a little press like this from all sides, really good spatial awareness exercise, because you can't really do that without getting better at it a little bit each time. So the last thing I like to do with this is sort of press down on each of the corners and see what kind of shapes come out of this. So I'm not really planning out math on this in advance. I'm just doing what feels interesting visually, and also just to see what happens. So you take it, once you get it as close to a cube as possible, and then you hold it up as straight perpendicular to that. So as if you're talking about 3D, this would be the normal, the tangent that comes off that point straight up from those three lines that converge, and you try to press that flat into the table just a little bit like that. Turn it over, same thing, and then of course, because it's three lines, it turns into a triangle. And then you can really see how off your cube is by doing that. But also it starts lending to interesting results if you do it carefully. You can kind of see where that's going. And this will turn into it's not really a dice, because until you make those touch each other, well, you'll see. I'll just keep going around. And then you can see what's happening there. So now if you really wanted to make this into something interesting, you can keep pressing those corners down until they meet in the middle. And then you have a four-sided plane right there, and then triangle, triangle, triangle. And then if you keep that going all the way around, so if you only press it in a little bit, then you'd have a hexagon, not a hexagon, you'd have an octagon. So anyway, you can see this is where it gets interesting. I'm trying to do it again as much as I can with my fingers, and then use the table when I want to get a real flat piece. But I think you could see what that does. Yeah. And that's just super quick. Again, it's a really good fidget for yourself if you're just need to do something with your hands like I do. Something's distracting, or you're watching something, or in a meeting, you want to pay attention, and you're like me, then this helps a lot. So you can see just pressing into the table a little bit, once you have that going, will start to really make interesting shapes. And like I showed before, the same principle, starting with a different primitive. So if you start with a three-sided pyramid, and then you press the corners, you can get like that. I didn't press it all the way, so I end up with hexagons. And then just pressed a little further, and then I don't know, I was messing around with the tool, just pulled a pip out of every other piece like that, just to see what would happen. So this is a shape like this, holding it. So you can start off with basically a double four-sided pyramid, which is technically a cube again, isn't it? No, not quite, because it's four-sided. So yeah, that's its own shape. That's a, whatever you want to call that, eight-sided die. And then press the corners into, and those corners you see turn into squares and not triangles because of the number of sides adjacent. Anyway, interesting stuff. I'm not really thinking about the math or the complicated primitives. Like I said, I'm just playing around until I get an interesting geometric shape. So this one is all pentagons all the way around from whatever I started with. I don't even remember. So anyway, just a fun little exercise. Just wanted to give a quick 5-10 minutes here just to see, let people have something to work on. I'm going to keep trying to do little ones like this as much as I can, and just to mix down some fun little things to do that don't take up too much time. Thanks for watching.